Alright, people, what's up, everyone, and welcome to another review with your big boy buddy Gore. That's right, it's been a little while since I've done a review, so had to do one for this one. This is for Cocaine Bear, which, of course, is a brand new movie directed by Elizabeth Banks about the titular Cocaine Bear, who is a real life thing, kinda. I say kinda because obviously the real life Cocaine Bear lasted about 5 minutes on cocaine until its heart exploded and died. In this movie, not so much. No, they envision this movie as if the cocaine bear could last, and it thrives on pounds of cocaine, and oh boy is it murderous, and oh boy is it glorious. I was very excited for this movie. The trailer was great. I thought it was goofy as hell but fun, and just the premise itself, like taking a real life story about a real bear that ate some cocaine and then died, and then flipping it and saying, you know what, if he didn't die? Because they said, like, hey, if anybody came in contact with that bear while it was still alive, while high on cocaine, they would have been done. It would have been ferocious. So let's take that premise and actually do something with it. And I'm happy to say that it was a fun time. I had a really good time with this movie. Do I have some problems? Sure. Mainly involving characters and some of the editing I thought was weird. But for the most part, Cocaine Bear is exactly what you want. It's violent as a motherfucker. It is way more violent than I was expecting. I thought we'd see some limbs here and there, but we see like disembowelment, we see limbs coming off, we see decapitated heads, we see gunshot wounds, we see a bear bite into the ass of Margot Martindale. We see everything that you would expect in a rated R slasher horror movie, let alone a movie that's supposed to be like a dark comedy about a bear that's high on cocaine. It's a bear, so you expect some violence, and of course the trailer showed like some decapitated limbs and stuff, but I wasn't expecting how violent it gets. There's even ones that made me wince. Like, you see like limbs slowly come off, you see someone get dragged on concrete, which is like, that's definitely, whenever someone gets dragged on anything, I go, ugh. But yeah, it's just it's very violent, very visceral, and you know what I really appreciated about it is that it doesn't treat the bear as 100% a joke. There's times where it does, like of course there's a couple times where it gets a little sleepy and sleeps on one of the main characters and stuff, and oh, that's funny. But for the most part, whenever the bear shows up, it is a threat. It's not like a joke. Hey, it is a threat. Like, you, if that bear gets near you, you're fucking done, okay? And I really appreciate it. I also appreciate that they actually make the bear a little sympathetic. Like, hey, the bear just came across, like, it was a natural bear, and everybody else around this forest or whatever knows that, you know, bears aren't that threatening. You have to really fuck with it for it to attack you. Yeah, he's I should say she. It's a mother. But yeah, she's a good old bear, and you know what? The special effects not the best, definitely not. But for a $30 million budget, I actually believed it was a bear. You know, it's obviously a special effect for at least most of it. And there might have been a real bear here and there, maybe shots of just like it in a forest without any humans. But even that, I think it was a special effect. There's times where I was like, yeah, it looks a little floaty. It looks about as good as maybe like The Revenant did at times, and that movie came out 8 years ago. Maybe not as good, but like the bear looked really good for 8 years ago. But now, you know, it looked better than Ant-Man. Anyway, so yeah, so the bear is sympathetic. You feel bad for the bear. It's going crazy because it's high on cocaine, obviously. But I really enjoyed watching this bear murder people. I wish the movie was more about that, because the bear itself, definitely the main threat. Not saying it's not. But there's times where like we take a backseat from the bear to explore these other characters. And I will say the other characters aren't bad. I like Kerry Russell. I like O'Shea Jackson Jr. I like Alden Ehrenreich. Ray Liotta's in it. You know, rest in peace. And he plays a pretty good villain in this. I like all these other characters. I really like Isaiah Whitlock Jr. I thought he was great in this. I liked his little side plot about his dog. I thought it was really funny. But there's so many times where I'm just like, okay, these characters aren't bad. They're not at all. They're fine. They're fine. But it's a 90-minute movie. There's a lot of characters. You don't really get to know them too much. They all have simple things about them. You can tell the actors have a good time, but I want to see more of the bear. I think the movie starts off maybe a little too slow. It has a good first scene with the bear. And it has a really awesome beginning scene with Matthew Rice, Reese, being the guy that supplies the cocaine, let's just say, to the bear, accidentally. A really funny scene to start it off with. I was actually, it was easily the funniest thing I watched in the last week in a movie theater. I'm not going to say what I'm shitting on, but I think it's a little obvious. But yeah, I like the characters. I just wanted more of the bear. You know, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is like a 7, but the bear is like a 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, I want more of that 9 out of 10. The 7's fine. I don't mind a 7. You know, it might even approach like a 7.5 sometimes, but I want more of the bear because these characters are light for sure on characterization, but they're not annoying. They're endearing, and I like the actors. And some of the dialogue is actually pretty funny. There is times where like the dialogue's like, okay, that's all right. I get the joke, or it just didn't make me laugh or whatever, or maybe it's a little too obvious. There are times where the editing really gets on my nerves though in this movie. I want to say, let me just move on to the main criticism. There's times where the editing is ridiculous. There's one scene, and this could be a slight spoiler. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just gonna say someone dies. Spoilers. No shit. A character dies towards the end of the movie, but it seemed like they shot the scene where they died, but they didn't want to put it in the movie, but they still want to explain that that character died. So they have like a flashback scene to a scene we never saw, and it was very weird. It was I was like, whoa, the editing there was, it took me a second to realize what happened. I was like, oh, that character died. Oh, okay. There's also a few times where it just like cuts really abruptly. There's also one scene I thought was really bad where they obviously didn't want to CG the bear in there, or they wanted to keep it like mysterious. Characters are getting attacked and dragged around and stuff. But it's obvious the way the camera's framed. You could tell that there's nothing there dragging them because the bear is pretty big. You'd be able to see the bear, but like you see like just someone in frame right there, and they go ooh, but you don't see anything like dragging them. You know what I mean? And they don't get hurt at all. It was very strange. There are some really jarring cuts too. It's just like characters will just be talking, and then like the second they stop talking, it goes boop. You know, it was very abrupt, very jarring. So the editing was kind of, I say driving me crazy. That's maybe a little bit too much, but like of all the things that I didn't like about the movie, that's probably the most I didn't like is that the editing was a little crazy. But the direction's good. The actors do a good job. It's relatively funny. Some of the jokes don't hit, but most of them do for the most part. And it's a breezy movie. It's 90 minutes. It was so nice to watch a movie that was just like 90 minutes, you know? Oh man. I miss that. So many movies now is like, yeah, 2.5 hours, bitch. I mean, I'm looking for the next John Wick movie, but almost 3 hours? Good lord. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm probably gonna love it, but still, like, goddamn. Yeah, this was a very fun movie. I had a good time, and if I had to give it a score, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. That'd be my score. I really enjoyed it. I think people are gonna really like it. It's definitely seems like it's gonna be a crowd pleaser. Just expect not to see the bear as much as you probably want to. You see the bear plenty. Don't get me wrong. There's some grisly kills. But for the most part, it's about the other characters, and they're not bad at all. They are endearing and likable. But yeah, just warning you. Anyway. And it just feels good to have a comedy like this out there. You know what I mean? Like doing well too. Sure, it has an odd premise, so that's probably why it's doing well. Cocaine Bear. I mean, it has a great title too, besides just premise. Yeah, it's a fun time. So anyway, there you go. That's it. Hope you enjoy it. Until next time. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.